After having accepted the totally unofficial off-the-books job offer that Captain Reginald Burnstor made, their next step was to go and find the young stable hand in order to hire him as a local guide. The party were well aware of the location of the stables. They had an idea of who the captain was talking about. Earlier, when they were asking around town to try and find the captain's office, they passed by the stables and saw a young blonde boy working there, as well as the stable master they recognised from the previous night when Parsifal had stabled his horse after they entered the town. When the group approached the stables, the stable master asked if he should prepare Parsifal's horse for travel, but was told that they should continue to care for the steed for a few more days and handed over an advance payment to cover the food and water. With the standard business out of the way, a request was made. We have matters to attend to in the area and are in need of a local guide. Captain Burnstor recommended your assistant as well suited to the job. Could we hire him for a few days? Inquired Darren. A negotiation over price occurred, and a fair price was agreed upon. Mattis handed over the coins and the young stable hand left the stable with the party. Once away from the stables a reasonable distance, Mattis turned to the young boy and spoke. Hi, I'm Mattis. This is Sister Silvara, Parsifal, and Darren. We know you are the best qualified person in town to help us with our current task. We will personally pay you what we just paid the stable master once our task is complete, he said. I'm Timmy, and I'm guessing you're not just looking for a guide, which I can do anyway, but also information about zombies and spooky houses? In that case, you have hired the right guy. I'll tell you about it on the way, the young boy said. We are on the same page then, Timmy. Point the way and tell us what you know as we travel, commented Parsifal. The party set out from Orton with Timmy directing. They were instructed to first head about 20 minutes back towards Springview, where they would find a smaller path branching off from the main one, which was, not surprisingly, roughly where they were attacked last night. On the way, Timmy told his story. It started about 2 months ago. I was in a small farming village near the abandoned Mallard Homestead. The old lady there, the last of the Mallards, had recently died, and all the farmhands had left. Some of them came to work in our village, others went to other small villages around the area, Timmy began. One night, there were suddenly lantern lights moving past the windows. Then we saw smoke from the chimney a few times, but it still seemed to be abandoned. Maybe just some nosy neighbours were having a snoop around. That was the accepted conclusion, but then sick and old people started randomly disappearing from the villages. Timmy continued. One night, just after dark, a horde of zombies appeared, but they were not just regular zombies. We'd seen them before, and a priest had dealt with them by himself. But these had been altered somehow with bits of metal armour bolted onto them and strange machines inside them. They were strong. Our priest was powerless against them. They smashed their way through the village, killing anyone that tried to stand and fight against them. And then they headed off towards Orton, Timmy said, starting to get a bit emotional. Timmy took some time to compose himself before continuing. After they were out of sight, I left town to try and sneak past them and run to the other villages to warn them, but I ran straight into another smaller group of the strange zombies. They grabbed me and carried me off. This was unexpected. Next thing I know, they had put me in a freshly constructed cell in the basement at the Mallard Homestead, and then left. They shut the door, but I didn't hear anything to indicate that they'd locked it, he said. It was dark. When my eyes adjusted, I noticed there was a man chained to the wall of the cell. I went to him to see if he was okay. He said he was fine. He also noticed that they forgot to lock the door and urged me not to waste time looking for a way to unlock his chains, but to run and bring help to burn the place down, Timmy continued. I've been trying to get someone to help ever since, but no one will listen to a kid. I don't know what happened to the man. I hope they were feeding him and he's okay. I'll feel awful if we get there and find out he died, Timmy concluded. Quite the tale. I see why the captain sent us to you. No idea how he was going to put that in a report if he sent his own men, said Darren. Timmy had a dejected look, thinking that they were dismissive of his story. Sister Silvara misread this as him being upset about reliving his ordeal, so she comforted him and told him not to worry, and she would do her best to help. They continued on, following Timmy's instructions to head up the smaller path. A narrow path through the dense forest, with other small paths along it leading off to small farmsteads and villages that looked as if they had just been carved out of the forest. Many of the properties along the route were damaged or abandoned. As they approached their destination, they could hear a collection of strange sounds coming in their direction. Timmy said, "Uh-oh." And that was all the confirmation that was required. Parsifal said, "Okay, we form up like the last zombies. I think these are probably Timmy's special zombies, so the priest skills won't work here. Timmy, stay behind us and tell us if you notice anything that seems important." "I really have to get a bow when we get back to town," Parsifal added. There were 6 zombies with all manner of contraptions grafted on their bodies, headed their way. When they got a bit closer, one with metal strips running the length of their limbs and billowing smoke and steam suddenly gained a burst of speed and charged at the party. Darren rushed his shot and missed wide, discarding his bow in favour of sword and shield. Parsifal, seeing a charging opponent, switched to his glaive and set to receive the charge. Mattis's spell hit true and dislodged a few random pieces of metal, but did nothing to slow their opponent. The zombie ran onto the glaive. On the way through its body, several bits of machinery broke. The rhythmic chugging sound started to sound like grinding. Rivets were popping out and steam started gushing out of a chest wound. The zombie fell over and started jerking around on the ground. Parsifal pulled out his glaive and yelled, "Run!" Once everyone had gained some distance, they hunkered down behind the shields as the zombie exploded, showering the area in stinky rotting flesh and pieces of hot metal. After getting back up and assessing the situation, it was clear that there was not much left of the fast zombie, just a twisted pile of dirty scrap metal. The other 5 zombies, moving at a more regular zombie-like pace, had started to close the distance during the confusion. Parsifal, Darren and Silvara had all decided shields were in order. Mattis had opted for a protective spell instead of direct damage this time, a sort of magic-based body armour. Then he pulled out a couple of daggers, handing one to Timmy, saying, "In case of emergency only." The 5 oncoming zombies were a real mishmash of mad scientist experiments. One had a very large upper body that seemed to be made from several upper bodies stitched together, with pipes and hoses coming out of it, coiling around the upper arm, leading to an oversized metal gauntlet. The second one just appeared to have a bunch of armor plating fused to it. Number 3 had a disc with what resembled the teeth of a saw around its edge. It began to make this disc spin at high speeds. Zombie number 4 had little metal rods sticking out of it all over the place, and it crackled with lightning. The 5th zombie had several tanks on its back, and it shot bursts of flame out of an arm-mounted contraption that connected to the tanks via some pipes and hoses. As the zombies closed in, Mattis threw a knife at the tank on the back of the flame-shooting zombie, assuming this was a supply of fuel for the flames that it was producing. However, as the knife's trajectory passed the heavily armoured zombie, it was pulled off course towards the zombie's armour, where it stuck. Seeing this, Timmy said, "The armour is some sort of sticky metal on that one. Look how the knife just sticks there flat against the plate like it's glued in place." Darren said, "That one we need to take its legs out and keep it away from the others, if we get the chance. It looks pretty top heavy too, may not be able to drag itself along." The one with the big fist sucked in a huge quantity of air and puffed up its chest and swung at Parsifal. This was odd because zombies do not normally need to breathe. Then, just before striking, it appeared to exhale rapidly. This propelled the fist of the gauntlet out at high speed, like a battering ram. Parsifal blocked with his shield, but was propelled several meters through the air. "Timmy, check Parsifal," Sister Silvara yelled, just as the spinning disc was biting deep into Darren's shield. When the disc connected with the strapping, it started to pull the shield in. Darren let go of the wrecked shield as bits of wood and metal and leather were sucked into the device. seizing it up momentarily. Then it kicked and ripped itself clear out of the zombie's body, causing what was left of the zombie to collapse. The metal fist zombie was just standing there motionless with its giant chest collapsed. There was a wheezing sound of internal bellows pumping away to reinflate its chest so it could fight again. Mattis went to work with daggers on the defenseless zombie. Timmy made his way to Parsifal. He was moving and had managed to stand up, but his shield arm was hanging limp by his side. Parsifal sheathed his sword and placed his hand on the damaged arm and said a short prayer. His hand began to glow. This spread to his arm, and when it stopped, his arm was fully functional again. Timmy called out, "All good!" Hearing all good, Sister Silvara moved to attack the flame zombie. However, the delay left an opening for the lightning zombie that hit Silvara with a lightning-charged whack, giving off the smell of ozone and singed hair. She rolled away to heal herself. Seeing this, Parsifal made a calculated decision. Leaving his sword sheathed, he charged at top speed, shield first, at the armoured zombie, pushing it with all his strength and the built-up momentum into the lightning zombie. The rod struck the armour, causing the lightning generator to short out and fry both zombies. Sister Silvara was badly hurt and had to spend a little while healing herself. Timmy stood by her side with a water skin. Darren, Parsifal and Mattis then moved on to the job of finishing the flame zombie. It was difficult to dodge the gouts of flame it sprayed everywhere. The fire did not even need to directly make contact to cause skin burns. Even just being near the fire was causing burns on their skin from the radiant heat. The zombie simply didn't care about its own burns. The system seemed remarkably fuel efficient too. It was not clear how long it could keep shooting fire at them, but it had already well exceeded everyone's secret guesses. The three danced around trying to take strikes of opportunity. Eventually, it ran out of fuel, but it now had a red-hot club to swing at its opponents. This was somewhat easier to dodge than a gout of flame, but there were some very close calls. The speed advantage its living opponents had paid off in the end. Having defeated the last zombie, Sister Silvara treated the burns on her companions, and the whole group sat down for a rest. Parsifal spoke. "We understand now, Timmy. Someone has been building experimental weapons out of zombies. They are both stronger and more damaging than normal zombies, but also very flawed and prone to catastrophic malfunctions. I fear these are only prototypes and can only get better with further refinement. We must go to the farmstead now and put an end to this. It is your choice if you go with us the rest of the way or if you head back to town." Timmy said, "No, I want to go to the farmstead with you and save the man if he is still alive." "Very well, 5 more minutes and we will go," said Parsifal.